Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Namaskrityam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Vyasam
Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nashtaprayam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Naishtiki Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining today's Bhagavatam class, dear devotees. I understand I am thoroughly not qualified to be speaking here. I take it up as a service so that I can delve deeper into the Bhagavatam when I'm preparing for the classes. I don't have any realizations to share. I'm just repeating whatever I have read and heard from my seniors. So today's verse will be from Canto 1, Chapter 14, verses 5 to 7. So we will sing the verse 5, and I will just read the translation for 6 and 7. They do not have any purports. Nimittani atyarishhtani.
Nimittani atyarishthani. 145.
We'll do it again.
You have
Nimittani atyarishhtani.
Nimittani atyarishthani.
Kale
145.
Kale tva anugate nrinam.
Kale dvanugate nrinam.
Lobhadi adharma prakritim.
Lobhadi adharma prakritim.
Drishto vachanujam nripa.
Drishto vachanujam.
Nimittani atyarishhtani.
Nimittani atyarishthani.
Kale tva anugate nrinam.
Kale dvanugate nrinam.
Lobhadi adharma prakritim.
Lobhadi adharma prakritim.
Drishto vachanujam nripa.
Drishto vachanujam nripa.
Word-to-word translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Nimittani.
Nimittani.
Causes.
Causes.
Ati.
Ati.
Very serious.
Very serious.
Arishtani.
Arishtani.
Bad omens.
Bad omens.
Kale.
Kale.
In course of time.
In course of time.
Tu. But. Anugate.
Anugate.
Passing away.
Passing away.
Nrinam.
Nrinam.
Of humanity at large.
Of humanity at large.
Lobha adi.
Lobha adi.
Such as greed.
Such as greed.
Adharma.
Adharma.
Irreligious.
Irreligious.
Prakritim.
Prakritim.
Habits.
Habits.
Drishtva.
Drishta.
Having observed.
Having observed.
Uvacha.
Uvacha.
Said.
Said.
Anujam.
Anujam.
Younger brother.
Younger brother.
Nripaha.
Nripaha.
The king.
King.
Translation. In course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhishthir, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother. Purport. Such a pious king as Maharaj Yudhishthir at once became perturbed when there were such inhuman symptoms as greed, anger, irreligiosity, and hypocrisy rampant in society. It appears from this statement that all these symptoms of degraded society were unknown to the people of the time, and it was astonishing for them to have experienced them with the advent of the Kali Yuga, or the age of quarrel. Text 6. Translation. Maharaj Yudhishthir said to his younger brother Bhimsen, I sent Arjuna to Dwarka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, of his program of work. Text 7. Since he departed, 7 months have passed, yet he has not returned. I do not know factually how things are going there. Om Ajnanatmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. in today's verse, we see an interesting point laid out by Srila Prabhupada that all of the bad qualities, that the bad omens that were visible at that time due to the advent of Kali Yuga were actually rare in that society. And we've heard multiple times that one of the purposes or the main purpose of Sri Krishna's appearance on the planet Earth is to establish a eligible ruler so that religiosity and dharma can propagate in that lifetime. So we see that Krishna was wanted Yudhishthir to be on the throne. Actually, he himself told Yudhishthir that he should be the king after the war, but Yudhishthir was apprehensive. He did not want to be the king because he was very guilty that he had been the cause for the war because of the gambling and many other things. He was so pious and he took the blame on himself. He took full responsibility for whatever happened during the war, that he did not want to be the king anymore because he thought it was slain with the blood of all the people who had passed away during that war. But Krishna coaxed him and asked Bhishma Dev to educate him so that he knows what a true ruler should be and how dharma should be propagated during their lifetime. And then, to please Bhishma Dev, Yudhishthir Maharaj took up the post of the king. There are three main qualities of Yudhishthir Maharaj that I would like to touch upon today. These are the three qualities that we have Dharmaraj, that is his own actual father, tells Yudhishthir. So those three qualities are his compassion, his intelligence, and his morality. So these are the three qualities that we will delve into deeper today. But before that, just a small point based on what we were discussing in the past 2 days about time. We see in the purport for verse 5 that the first sentence says, in course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, and other vices. And the importance to note is that time is a very humbling element in our lives. Yesterday, we heard from Swami Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj about how Krishna is time himself, and he can alter how a person perceives time differently. If a person utilizes time, he gives them more so that they can utilize more in his service. If they're not, then he takes away time. So we saw that yesterday, and we also heard from Chanakya Pandit when he said, Ayusha Kshana Ekopi, even 1 second cannot be bought with Swarna Koti Vidhi. Even with millions and millions of Swarna gold, you cannot buy even a moment of time. So these things lead to an important aspect that even science has verified more recently, that at the time of death, a person's all of the activities that a person has performed during his life actually flashes in front of him. And this is something that the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita has been telling us from time immemorial, that whatever you dedicate your life to, you will get the next life that will enable you to utilize those desires. So if you have the desire to serve Krishna, and if it's pure and unadulterated, then in the next life, you will be part of the Bhaumya Leela, or you'll be part of Krishna's abode itself. So this comes to show that if we ayur hariti vai pumsam udyan ashtan chayan nasau tasyarte yat shanonita uttama shloka vartaya. Uttama shloka is Krishna. Vartaya is all the words and descriptions of Krishna. If we absorb ourselves in his pastimes and integrate spirituality in our daily life, then ayur hariti vai pumsam. For that person, the setting and rising of the sun does not really reduce their lifespan, because then they go to a place which is timeless, and as a result, time doesn't matter anymore. So there's a famous saying that says, time is free but priceless. You can't own time, but you can use it. You can't keep time, but you can spend it. And that is a real power, because it is something that we have no control over, yet we have some control over. So that is one thing I wanted to mention. It is also said that the only good thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So this is exactly what has been shown here. When Maharaj Yudhishthir took up the throne, he did not do nothing. He ensured that dharma would propagate and progress during his rule and reign. And when he left, we saw that the vices increased, and then dharma or adharma increased, and dharma precipitously fell. And this is what happens even in current politics and society, because the only good thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And we see that the politics and leadership established by Bhishma Dev and Maharaj Yudhishthir uh, have actually degraded over time. And as a result, we are in the current civilization. When Narad Muni was instructing Yudhishthir during the Rajsuya sacrifice, he mentioned something interesting that it really caught my attention. He mentioned that for people who are not part of the Varnashram system, the only thing that the Vedas enjoin for them is to follow their familial customs, which is very interesting because the familial customs itself has degraded significantly. It has been adulterated immensely with every passing generation or even passing years now. But the Vedas do not, they have only authority over those who are part of the Varnashram system, because Vedas think, or the Vedas enjoin that only those within the jurisdiction of the Varnashram system have the right upbringing and the conducive environment to attain the highest. Who are not in the jurisdiction of them, for them, their familial customs are what should be followed for their own purification. However, we see now that even the familial customs have significantly degraded, and that alone, and surely no one following their own familial customs, like not bona fide familial custom, would be able to attain the lotus feet of the Lord. That is pretty obvious for us to know. So, out of the three characteristics that we talk about Yudhishthira Maharaj, it'll be a mix. But first, I would like to talk about his compassion. So Yudhishthir was he was known as Ajata Shatru, and he actually embodied that characteristic. Ajata Shatru means he who nobody sees as enemy, and he sees nobody else as enemy. So he's the only character in the entire Mahabharata who's like that. To the extent that when they had to get allies for the Rajsuya sacrifice so that everyone is part of Yudhishthir Maharaj's kingdom, even Shishupal, even Dushasan, even Duryodhana were willing to be allies to Maharaj Yudhishthir, even though they were, um, you can say, antagonistic to the other brothers. They were antagonistic to Bhimsen or Nakula, Sahadev, or even Arjuna. But they were willing and they wanted to be allies for Yudhishthir Maharaj alone. So that goes to show that nobody saw him as an enemy, and he never saw anybody as an enemy. Now, we see after the disappearance of Lord Sri Krishna, the Pandavas and Mother Draupadi, they take off to the Himalayas so that they can finish or complete the last stage of their life in a secluded environment and then leave the world. And we had Arjuna's son enthroned there by Parikshit Maharaj. And so what happens is, as they go on the hill, the first person to pass away is Mother Draupadi. And the reason that Yudhishthira Maharaj knows, and he tells the other Pandavas that do not weep, she has gone to the abode she deserves. And she perished first among us because Draupadi had a special favor, like a favorability towards Arjuna. Although she was the wife for all five of us, her love and devotion should have been equal to all. But she specifically favored Arjuna, and as a result, she was the first one to perish. And then we had Sahadev, who perished next. And Yudhishthira Maharaj says his only flaw was that he was proud of his beauty. Then, when it came to Nakula, his only flaw was that he was proud of his strength and his skills in, he's proud of his knowledge and his skills in the Dharma Shastras and uh, Atharva Veda. The Atharva Veda was his strength, and as a result, he was proud of that fact. And then when it came, then Arjuna perished. So the reason Arjuna perished was because he made promises that he could not keep. So he said he would single-handedly kill the entire army. He would drink their blood. He would take bath on their heads, and all of those promises that he made in anger, they were improper, and as a result, he perished next. And then we had Bhim Singh perish next because also because of his anger, and also because he would at times overeat as well. So these were some stumbling blocks. Overeat. So then came Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was the only one pending because he was sinless. He was, you could say, a spotless character. And one interesting factor is when they began on this journey, a small dog actually accompanied them. And Yudhishthir Maharaj actually took shelter. Whoever takes shelter of him, he is willing to take them in his. So what happens next is only the dog and he are remaining at the very end. And then they go towards one of the higher peaks of the Himalayas. And then we have Indra coming there. So I will read the conversation. Mm. Oh, I'm sorry, just 1 second. Yeah. So then Indra asks him, Maharaj Yudhishthir, you have a spotless character, and I am here to personally take you to the abode, the spiritual abode, and you are most deserving. Please come with me. Let us go. So, which means he would have to leave his physical body, and in a subtle body, he would have to leave. At that time, Yudhishthir looks at the dog and he tells him, this dog has been loyal and devoted to me. Let him come with me. O great King of the gods, it is difficult for a noble person to do an ignoble deed. I do not wish for glory if it means abandoning one who is devoted to me. This dog has taken refuge with me. I will not abandon one who is devoted to me. That would be the sin equal to killing a woman, robbing a Brahman, and harming a friend. So he embodied the Pandita Samadarshina. He saw that the dog was not, he did not know whether it was ordinary or extraordinary. I kind of gave a spoiler, but he was willing to keep the dog by his side, even if it meant he would not go to the spiritual abode. So that was his morality and his compassion towards an animal. And what happened was this was actually a test, and the dog was actually Dharmaraj, his own father, who was Yamaraj, was the dog, and was very pleased that Yudhishthir, even at such a juncture, which means going to the spiritual abode or not, even at that juncture, he was willing to keep his morality and compassion towards others. So then Indra says, King, you are the greatest of kings. With intelligence, morality, and compassion, you have given up the chariot to heaven for the sake of a loyal dog. Because of this, you have gained the highest heaven. So these are the three characteristics we see. Intelligence, we can talk of it in terms of the mic. So it's morality, intelligence, and compassion, MIC. So these were the three characteristics that he embodied to the very highest. So I will list a few of the instances where he shows morality, demonstrates morality. Some were intelligence, some compassion. So we saw compassion already. The dog towards the end of his life, during the actually before, just before the when they were getting ready for the gambling match, Yudhishthir was he tried his very best to let the audience know that he has no intention to gamble, and he wanted them to stop the gambling match itself. So he raised many concerns. So one of the concerns he said was, um, the wealth should be used for protecting the brahmanas and not for gambling in a frivolous manner. And he made a lot of very moral and dharmic statements to the audience there that included Bhishma Dev and Duryodhana and everybody there. But none of them paid heed to it. But in that, when we read the Mahabharata, when we see all of the statements that he made at that time, it really shows that he was kind of forced upon gambling because he gave a promise. So Narad Muni actually said that there are three characteristics that will lead to the downfall of society. And then he said that is not listening to your elders and then arguing. And he says another characteristic, as a result of which he made the promise that whatever my elders say, I will follow to the letter T. And that, and then obviously Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra took advantage of that and then called him to the gambling match. And then we had Shakuni being you could say, a cheater who cheated and usurped their kingdom and so forth. But even in that, that's why he's called Yudhishthira. Even in Yudh is war, and Sthira is to be steadfast, to hold fort in your morality. So even in a situation as challenging as war, he was willing to be sthira, or he was still willing to be steadfast in his dharmic, you could say, affiliation, his dharmic affiliation. So we see even yeah, even at the end of the war, we see how he was worried about Dhritarashtra. Even though Dhritarashtra was the cause for the war, Dhritarashtra gave them so much trouble, even tried killing them. His sons tried to kill them, and he was okay with it. Even in that point, he has Yuyutsu, who's one of the servants. He appointed Yuyutsu, who was one of Yudhishthir's favorite servants, to serve Dhritarashtra and see to it that he has no problems. So, and every day he would go and take their blessings, and he would make sure that they're doing fine. And we see that he tried to take their blessings, and they were okay with it. But when Bhimsen came, we had Dhritarashtra try to hug him and crush him. So everyone had malice towards the other four Pandava brothers, except for Yudhishthir. Everyone loved him. Everyone respected him immensely. Ajatashatru, to the point where everyone wanted to be his ally as part of the Ratsuya sacrifice. And morality, because Yudhishthir himself tells when the Pandavas and Draupadi are in the forest, he tells the Draupadi and everybody else that if we protect Dharma will protect us. So what other higher? So even Martin Luther King, I think he says, I think Radhanath Maharaj quotes in his book about how if we're not willing to die for the values that we believe in, then what use is our life? So he was that nature. He was willing to die rather than not follow his value system, and that is why he is in the pages of the Mahabharata and is so dear to Lord Sri Krishna. So yeah, oh yeah, I think I noted it down here. Vyasadev's prediction. I think so that is protect Duryodhana from the yakshas. Oh yeah, so there is also one pastime in the Mahabharata where the yakshas, where Duryodhana accidentally sports in the yakshas pond or swimming pool, so to speak. And as a result, the yakshas are enraged that a mere mortal would sport in their vicinity or in their pond. And Duryodhana was a little, I could say, headstrong, and he was not willing to heed to their um, advice to get off the pond. And as a result, there was a clash between Duryodhana and the yakshas, and Duryodhana and his small army were completely obliterated. And at that time, he was in a helpless state. At that time, the Pandavas were in the forest. Actually, Duryodhana's aim was to go to the Pandavas in the forest, set up camp right next to them, but live in opulence and scoff at their misery and their eating roots and fruits. But what happened was, in that the karma is so well deserving for him that there was a yaksha pond, and then he was enjoying there, and then they come and they tell him to get off. And at that time he's in a very you could say vulnerable state, where he does not have his army, and the yakshas are going to kill him probably. And at that time Yudhishthir looks at Arjuna and tells him to go help Duryodhana, even in that state. Duryodhana's aim was to come and scoff at them, but even in that situation, Yudhishthir knew what was right. He tells um, Arjuna that, look, he may be antagonistic to us, but he's still our family, and we must protect our family. And as a result, I order you to go and protect him. And that's when Arjuna comes to protect him. And this is the time when Duryodhana gives Arjuna the boon that you ask for anything, I'll give you. And then that is used later on to get the arrows of Bhishma Dev. So yeah, these were some of the. I kind of wanted to make a checklist to show how Yudhishthir was Mike, that is moral, intelligent, and also compassionate. And intelligence is actually shown several times throughout the entire Mahabharata. But however, there are two famous brothers that he has who kind of outshine him in some ways. So we have Arjuna and Bhimsen who kind of take the spotlight away from Yudhishthir Maharaj. But Yudhishthir is the real foundation, the backbone of the Pandavas, who enabled everyone to be held strongly. So when they were in the forest, we had Draupadi, Bhim, and Arjuna. They kind of created their own group, and they would talk ill about Yudhishthir. They're like, Yudhishthir, he's afraid. He does not want to fight the war. And then they had that Viryaras. We will go. Only two of us. We will go and we will fight against Duryodhana. We will win the war and we'll give the kingdom to Yudhishthir. They were, speaking and Draupadi was also like, yes, my husband, he's a coward. He does not want to fight the war. And they would constantly show that frustration to Yudhishthir also. When Yudhishthir would say something, they would bring the firewood and then bang it on the floor and then walk away and so on. And Yudhishthir know they were frustrated. So Yudhishthir goes to them and confronts them. So he tells them that Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra have a lot of our allies as well with them. If we wage a war, we will be severely outnumbered. We could even lose the war. And so we must have a strategic plan, an alliance. We must go to different places whenever we get to. We must strike alliances and then get a war, and we must be prepared before we fight. And he gives a really intelligent strategy on how they would get the weapons. And he would tell Arjuna to go to Indra's abode, learn the Pashupati Astra from Shiva, Lord Shiva, learn some of the weaponry from Indra and so on. And he laid out a very elaborate plan on how they would get back their kingdom and rule with dharma. So this is an instance where his intelligence is shown. And the most famous intelligence is also known as the Yaksha Prashnam, when the four brothers are in a immobile state because they drank water from a Yaksha pond without the Yaksha's permission. So they were kind of immobilized. And at that time, Yudhishthir goes there and sees his four powerful brothers lying down without, maybe left with just one breath or something, so in a way, almost comatose state. And at that time, the Yaksha, who's actually Dharmaraj, his own father, Yamaraj, who wanted to test him, comes and tells, this is my pond, and if you need my permission to use it, and your four brothers are here. If you want to use this water, or you need to answer my questions. And it's very interesting because Yudhishthir gave such brilliant answers to all of these questions. There were about 128 questions or so. And he gave perfect answers to all of them that Yamaraj himself was amazed. He is disguised as a Yaksha. And it's interesting to note that this is not called Yudhishthir Uttar or the answers of Yudhishthir. These are actually called Yaksha Prashnam. They're called Yaksha's questions and not Yudhishthir's answers. And this is because all of the questions are very, very instructive for us, because it demonstrates Yudhishthir's intelligence, compassion, and morality. And I have 5 or 6 questions that I would like to also ask you. If anybody has an answer, you can give me, and then we'll check how it does with Yudhishthir's answers.
Quiz.
It's a quiz. It's a quiz in the Bhagavatam class. Okay. Pop quiz. One of the questions, the Yaksha asked, what is heavier than the earth? Any answers online? Anyone? What is heavier than the earth?
Jupiter would be heavy.
Jupiter is
bigger planets.
Jupiter is the guru of the asuras. What is the name?
Brihaspati.
No, Brihaspati is. Oh yeah, Brihaspati. Brihaspati is guru of the Shukracharya. Shukra. Actually, the answer is a mother's love. That is Yudhishthir's answer. It's and Krishna himself says. Prahlad Maharaj says the love of the parents is actually a representation of Narsimhadev's love for all of us. I forget the verse. Balasya Neha Sharanam Pitru Narsimha. He says, Balasya Neha, the Neha Sharanam, the love and shelter that are demonstrated by a parent, are actually the via medium for the Lord's love to come to us. Palasiniashranam, yes. What makes the soul rise out of its entanglement in matter? This should be easy for, obviously, Prabhu would know.
Knowledge.
Yes, it is knowledge of the Supreme Lord which makes the soul rise out of entanglement. What keeps him company? Who is his guide on that spiritual journey, and on what is he established?
Say it again.
Who keeps him company? Who is his guide on that spiritual journey, and on what is he established? It's I think it's it's godly qualities are his companion. Dharma is his guide, and he is established on truth. So they were like three-part question. Who keeps him company on the journey? That is godly qualities. Who is his guide on that spiritual journey? Dharma is his guide. And on what is he established? He is established on truth. Who attains the highest abode. Okay, the last four questions. Who in this world is happy?
Devotee.
That's a very, very good answer. Yes, Prabhu. He who is neither in debt nor exiled, and who lives simply, eating simple food in his own home, is happy. That is Yudhishthira Maharaj's answer. This is a very generic question. What is the most wonderful thing?
Because people are dying and people think that won't die.
Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti yamalayam shesha sthavara ichanti kim ascharayam atha param. You see everyone dying around us, but we feel it's not me, it's just them. And this is not just in the realization, but it is also in the utilization of our time. So that's what I remembered from Maharaj's class yesterday. That sometimes, at least, I tend to spend time as though I have infinite supply of it, even though I see others, even some friends dying, or even family members same age as me passing away. But sometimes I waste time just like sleeping extra hours and feel like it's easy to save for me. But hopefully, by your blessings, I will also follow that. So maybe this is it's a little deep question. What are the tidings of this world, and how can one find eternal path of dharma? And the answer is the tidings are that in this world, which is like a cauldron with the sun as its fire, days and nights as its fuel, and months and season as its wooden ladle, all creatures are being cooked by time. The eternal religious path is found only in the heart of great mystics, which is Guru himself, which is found in the heart of the Guru. The Yaksha smiled. You have rightly answered every question. Tell me which of your brothers you wish to have restored to life. So the four brothers are there, and the Yaksha asks, you have done well. So your prize is you can revive only one of them. And Yudhishthir's answer is, O Yaksha, let Nakula, as tall as a sal tree and endowed with a broad chest and long arms, be brought to life. So out of his four brothers, two are his own brothers, to Kunti Devi, and Madri's two sons, Nakula and Sahadev. But he chooses Nakula, who is Madri's son. And the Yaksha was surprised. Why? So Yaksha says, Bhimsen is surely more important to you than Nakula, O king, and Arjuna is your chief support. Why do you ask for Nakula to be revived? And so Yudhishthir says, he who sacrifices virtue is himself destroyed, and he who preserves virtue is in turn preserved by it. I am therefore careful to always observe virtue. For me, great virtue lies in refraining from cruelty. It is superior to all worldly gain. Thus, I ask for Nakula. Both Kunti and Madri are the same to me. In myself, Kunti still has a son, but Madri now has none. With a desire to behave equally toward my two mothers, I ask for the lives of Nakula. Two sons, Nakula and Sahadev. And she and
Kunti has three sons.
actually, yeah, no. But the two of them are immobilized. They're in a comatose state. So right now, only Yudhishthira is alive. Yes. So he tells, I want Nakula to be revived. Uh, yeah, so that is when Yamaraj is incredibly pleased that his son is such a beacon of virtue, and as a result, he revives all of them, and he comes in. He shows his own original form, and he's a Mahajan as well. So he comes and he's very pleased with Yudhishthir's qualities and so forth. And there are many such pastimes also demonstrated by another king that we all know and love, that is Lord Ram. So we see when Vibhishan comes, everyone does not, no one, nobody in the army wants Vibhishan because he's Ravana's own brother, except for Hanuman. So Lord Ram knows, and he tells, we will all take the counsel of Hanuman. And at that time, they go and ask Hanuman, Vibhishan has come and he surrendered himself. Do we take him on our side or not? And Hanuman is the only one who knows that Vibhishan had written Ram in on every nook and corner of his wall in his house in Lanka. And actually, it would have been quite simple, right? If Ravana had come to his house and he'd seen Ram, Ram, Ram everywhere, he would be like, "Why have you written this?" So, Prabhu, what is the name of the wife of Ravana? Mandodari. So he tells, I've written Ram because Ra is for Ravana and Ma is for Mandodari. So I've written Ravana Mandodari everywhere. But actually, he had written Ram everywhere, and Hanuman saw it. And Hanuman knew of all the people, he is like that drop on the lotus who was unaffected by by the dirty water underneath. And as a result, Lord Ram is pleased and takes Vibhishan to his side. And this also happens to Bharat. The entire land of Ayodhya think that it was Bharat who conspired against his brother and asked his mother to ask him to go on an exile or take exile. And everybody misunderstands Bharat. And when Bharat comes to apologize to Lord Ram and give him back the throne, they come to the forest. He actually comes with a small army to make way and have a red carpet treatment to get Lord Ram back. But Lakshmana sees that there's suddenly a commotion. So the word, it's called Aranya Kand itself. Ranya means chaos. Aranya means no chaos. That's the forest. Aranya means it's peaceful. It's a forest. In the Aranya, suddenly there is a lot of chaos and there's a lot of hoof, like from the hoof print of the horses. There's a lot of sand in the air and there's a lot of commotion and noise and everything. So Lakshmana goes atop a tree and sees what's happening. And then he sees that it is Bharat who's coming there and he's coming with an army. And Lakshman, he is enraged immediately. He thinks that Bharat not only conspired against my brother, my Lord Ram, now he's coming with an army to kill him so that he can have the kingdom for himself fully. I am not going to spare him. And he is ready to kill Bharat. But Lord Ram alone knows that Bharat is innocent. And he knows the heart that Bharat would never do such a thing. And when Lakshman is about to go and fight and kill uh, Bharat, Lord Ram stops him and then welcomes Bharat there. And then he sees that Bharat has not slept. He has tears down his eyes. He prays to his Lord, "Oh Dinanath, Prananath, please come and rule your kingdom." And that is when Lakshman sees the compassion of Lord Ram. And Lord Ram's compassion is actually demonstrated in another place beautifully when he appreciates Lakshman, which is also a great characteristic of a good king, when he appreciates someone's efforts. So this is when they're on the banks after Bharat has left, and this is in Panchavati. It is in Nashik. Nashik is called Nashik because of the no nose. So na Shurpanakhas. So there's a lot of nose cutting actually in the entire. We even heard of the ear getting cut off in Shubilas Prabhu's class. They cut off the ears of uh, Kumbhakarna's ears. So What happens there is Lord Ram tells Lakshman, this whole area is seems like a good place. It's by the Godavari River. It's in Panchavati, and then he says he would like to set up a small ashram here, and we can stay here. And at that time, Lord Ram tells Lakshman, You can build how whatever kind of accommodation you think is good for us." And then Lakshman starts to weep. He starts crying. And then Lord Ram is surprised. Did I say something wrong, Lakshman? Why are you weeping? So then he says something very beautiful, and this is really the essence of Dasyaras that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and incorporated into the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And he says, Kriyate mama tvam vada. He says, "O Lord Ram, I am your surrendered servant. You do not have to give me a choice, build however you like. Kriyate tvam, mam vada. Kriyate do, tvam you. Just tell me, just order me, do like this, I will do it. You don't have to give me a choice. I do not want any say in this matter. I'm just your humble servant." And there's also a beautiful verse that goes along with it. It's called Shauni Patitvam Niravaikam Akinchanatvam. So he tells, "O Lord, if you want, you can make me Akinchanatvam. You can make me poor or a poverty stricken beggar, or you can make me a rich person. Nityam dadasi bahumanam atha apamanam. Bahumanam, you can put me in a position of very high respect. Atha apamanam, or you could say complete insult or no respect at all. Bahumanam atha apamanam. Vaikuntha vasam athava narake nivasam. You can place me in Vaikuntha, or you can put me in the humble abode. Vaikunthavasam athva narake nivasam. Ha Vasudeva mama na asti gatistvadanya. He slightly mockingly tells the Lord that you always have two choices. You can put me here, you can put me there. That's always a headache that you have. But I have no headache. I'm completely surrendered to your lotus feet. Whatever you say, I do. I don't have to make a choice. It's you who has a headache. He kind of mockingly tells the Supreme Lord. And so Lakshman does the same. He says, "Please don't give me the choice, Lord Ram. I wish to only serve you." And then Lord Ram hugs Lakshman and tells him that he tells something very interesting actually. He tells, "You have understood my heart. You have built us accommodation that is perfect." He builds a special accommodation for Lord Ram and Mother Sita to stay. And he anyway doesn't sleep, so he doesn't need accommodation. He would just go around the perimeter, and he's completely sacrificed his life. And he tells, "I, you have lost your father, but I have not lost my father," which is very interesting because Dashrath Maharaj passed away, and he's the father for both of them. They may be from two different mothers, but it's very interesting. And this is the hallmark of a true leader, king, in the way he appreciates his subjects, and in this case, the Lord appreciating his closest brother, devotee. And he tells, "A father's position is to serve the son, take care of all his needs so that he can flourish and become a person who upholds dharma." For me, Dasharath was there until I reached a certain age. When Dasharath passed away, I still had you. You took care of all of everything I needed. You served me. You took care of every little thing I could have ever wanted. But for you, nobody is serving you. Nobody is taking care of you. So I have a father in you, but you have no father. So we see in our spiritual lives, we sometimes take our spiritual master or even Shiksha Gurus as a father figure because they look upon us like our own father. And this is exactly what Lord Ram was saying in praise of Lakshman's service. That Lakshman's service was as good as Lord Ram's father. And he tells Lakshman that you do not have a father, and I feel very bad that I'm of no service to you. Lord Ram tells Lakshman. And that is real compassion. When the Lord is pleased in somebody's service, he makes it known to them in a certain manner. And this was really beautiful to hear from the Aranyakand of the Ramayana. And I think we have the books now, so we can all read it more deeply. I would like to finish by one verse that Sri Hari Suri has narrated, which talks about the four regulative principles. And this ties in with Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj's book that we got from the Goshala the other day called Bhakti Raga. Oh, no, sorry, Bhakti Raga Maharaj. In how modernity is killing civilization. And so there's an interesting point noted by Hari Suri when he talks about Kali Yuga, the advent of Kali Yuga, and he says Shri Mad. That is, I think I've mentioned it before. Shri is wealth, and Mad is intoxication. So we're not talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. We're talking about Shri with elevated E and then dash Mad. So he tells that it is Shri Mad alone that causes the four regulative principles to be broken. And he gives four examples. He says for meat eating, he gives the example of Dashrath Maharaj killing Shravan Kumar. So Shravan Kumar had two blind parents, and he was fetching water for them. And at that time, it was Dashrath Maharaj was practicing archery. So kings in those days used to practice archery so that they can show that they have the strength, and it's also practice for them to know their the muscle memory, to keep the muscle memory going, that they can hunt or they can kill for it's something that the dharma shastras say that you should do from time to time. So at that time he heard something move and he shot, but he accidentally shot Shravan Kumar, who's a person, not an animal. And at that time, he dies, saying that I never got to serve my parents, so you will never get to serve your son, and so on. And that's how he dies without in separation of his son, Lord Ram, when he had to send him in exile. But that he was in that situation where he had to kill Shravan Kumar, or he killed Shravan Kumar only because he had wealth. If he was not a king, he would not have to go on a tour and then show his skills and so on. Then he talks about intoxication. So he gives the example of Nalla Kuvera and Manigriva, who are the sons of Kuber, who is the devata of wealth, and how they were completely naked, dancing in a pond, and it was actually inappropriate because it was for Lord Shiva's favorite pastime place, and they completely adulterated the sanctity of that place. And as a result, Narad Muni comes and curses them. They were actually in that position, intoxicated and naked, enjoying whatever, only because they had wealth. So it was Shri Mad that caused them to go into intoxication. So you would never find a completely poor beggar enjoying in alcoholism, although it is happening nowadays. I don't know how, but we see whatever somebody gives in donation, they may use it for intoxication. But the principle is only because they had wealth, they indulged in intoxication. Then he gives the example of lust. He gives Ravana's example. Only because Ravana was a king and he had so many wives, even though he had a chaste wife who was Mandodari, even then he was lusty and lustful after Mother Sita, only because he had wealth. And then we have gambling. We have Maharaj Yudhishthir and the Pandavas. They were called to gamble only because they had wealth. If they did not have wealth, they would not have. Nobody would call them for a gambling match. And gambling is also nowadays a method people try to think they can gamble and get more wealth, and that is also a version of Shri Mad. So we see Kali when he comes. He asked for these four positions: meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex. But Parikshit Maharaj said no. But later he told him, you can go to gold, you can go to wealth. And that is the real downfall. That is the real, you could say, economic development is the real impetus for modernization. And that is what is actually destroying our society. And that is what we see in today's words. In course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Greed for wealth, anger because they do not have enough wealth, pride because they have a lot of wealth. Maharaj Yudhishthir, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother, thus that it appears as though Krishna has left. That is what the verse we will be talking about tomorrow. With that, I would like to stop today's lecture. Um, I know I have a lot of corrections to make, which means I have a lot of scope for improvement. I would like to receive some feedback so that I can improve. Thank you very much to devotees. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Vishal to
Yes.
Anything to share, anything correction would be great. Online was also.
You said it all.
Oh no.
It was clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vishal.
Yes, bro.
So I understand that Dharamraj was asking the questions as Yaksha to
Yudhishthira.
Yudhishthira Maharaj. We understand that Dharamraj had taken birth as Vidura
Mhm.
because of the curse of Manduk Muni. So Dharamraj was present at the same time when Yudhishthira was there, Vidura was there. How can we understand that Dharamraj came as Yaksha and he asked the questions from Yudhishthira?
Yes, bro. That's a very good question. In the Laku Bhagavatamrit, there's I think verse 110 or something like that, where it's mentioned how these expansions work. So when the eighth Vasudhyo, when he was cursed to take birth in the um material world as uh, Devavrata or Bhishmadev, and at that time it was only an expansion of him that went and took birth, performed that pastime, and then came back. So it was not that he himself fully went in. So that's a subtle concept that is mentioned in the Laghu Bhagavatamrit. We can take a look at verse 110 purport. It's mentioned bro, how these things happen. And there are also other things like Vasudev Maharaj and how they are present here as well as in the spiritual world, because it's an expansion of them for the sake of the Leela who come here. So when we say Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, it is in that sense where he's always there, but he also comes, performs a pastime, and goes back. So it's a we need to read a little more deeply. So Laghu Bhagavatamrit, I think you have, so, or maybe I can read the.
Yeah, also there was Sahadev. No, there was where Krishna was with some of the devotees, and he was going to go to one person, and then he's going to go to another house. So they expanded themselves. Even the devotees expanded themselves. So that happens. That's there also.
Yeah, when they went to visit Brahmana and the king Bahulashva.
Yeah.
And
so not just Krishna expanded himself, but the devotees also. So that's
Shruti,
Shruti.
Shruti and Bahulashva.
Yeah.
King and Prabhu.
Shruti.
He had his entourage, I think.
Yeah, they both expanded. They all
Uddhav and all everybody.
But that's there.
So it's verse 441, bro. So when on the order of lotus-born Brahma, the demigods and others take birth on earth as partial expansions, Kashyapa, who's an expansion of Vasudev, along with other similar expansions residing in heaven, join with their originals who eternally take part in Krishna's pastimes. To accomplish this, they take birth from Surasen and others. So in the purport, it's mentioned that I think this Jiva Goswami, Laghu Bhagavatamrita is Rupa Goswami, right? So this is how Krishna arranges to make visible his pastimes with his eternal devotees. When the time came for Krishna to descend to the earth to relieve her burden, Lord Brahma ordered the demigods to join Krishna. So there's a verse that says, while in trance, Lord Brahma heard the words of Lord Vishnu vibrating in the sky. Thus he told the demigods, O demigods, hear from me the order of Shirodakshai Vishnu, the Supreme Person, and execute it attentively without delay. Before we submitted our petition to the Lord, he was already aware of the distress on earth. Consequently, for as long as the Lord moves on earth to diminish its burden by his own potency in the form of time, all of you demigods should appear through plenary portions as sons and grandsons in the family of the Yadus. So we see that the Devatas are the Yadus, but we also see Indra, and then we see Lord Shiva, Arjuna himself going to meet them in the heavenly abode, and many other fact. There is there's a little one more paragraph. Maybe I'll just read it. Some expansions of Krishna's eternal associates reside in heaven. Responding to Brahma's order, these expansions, such as Vasudev's Amsha, Kashyapa, and Nanda Maharaj's Amsha Dronacharya merged back into the originals from whom they expanded and took birth from fathers on the earth like Surasen and Parjanya Gopa. In the Padma Puran, Sri Krishna tells his wife Satyabhama, entreated by Mother Earth and the demigods led by Brahma, I've come here with all the members of my entourage who have also taken birth. Thus, O Radiant One, all these Yadavas are my personal associates. They are always very dear to me, dear goddess, and their virtues are equal to mine. Also in the Padma Purana, Sri Vyasadeva says to Ambarish Maharaj, the Lord told me, watch and I will show you my true form, which the Vedas keep secret. I then saw a boy, O king, whose luster was like that of a black lotus flower. He was a cowherd boy surrounded by cowherd maidens and joking with other cowherd boys. In this vision, Vyasadeva saw the original personality of Godhead in the company of the young cowards. Certainly, Nanda Maharaj and the other Gopas were not far away. So, I think we should read the Lagu Bhagavatamrit. It will explain the Tattva in more detail. Yes.
Thank you so much.
I think we'll stop here.
Thank you.
Thank you.